know, I think I'm gonna change this theme song eventually. I like it, it's cool, but I want something a bit more up-tempo. I just need something with a little bit more funk and some extra grit. I mean, like, when it comes on, I just need y'all to be like, boom, oh, here it goes, like, you know. But anyway, all right, everybody, welcome to episode 12 of the podcast. Let's just jump right into it. Now, where I left off in episode 11, I was telling you all about my experience at Howard University for my junior year. And because there's just so many events and so many things that took place, there was no possible way to tell this story in one episode. So I was like, we're going to have to do this in 2 episodes. So let me just jump into it. One of the things I really, really loved about Howard is just how black it was. I have to say that again. One of the things I really loved about Howard was how black it was. It was, and I'm not just saying because there's black people there, but I mean, when I think of black, I have this very complex definition and visual of what I see. And what was so cool about Howard was that it was just this utopia of blackness. And it's an experience that I never had before I got to Howard, and I have never experienced once I got out of Howard. And so sometimes I look back and I think back to when I was there, and I used to just have moments where I'd be like, oh my goodness, is it really this good? Do I really have it this good? I'm never going to experience this again. And I used to always tell myself that, especially towards my senior year when it was starting to wrap up and we were like, yo, this is about to be it. Like, you don't appreciate some things until they're over. But during that time period at Howard, it was almost like living in this fantasy land. And I say that because when you're at an HBCU or when you attend an HBCU and you're having a great experience, you begin to notice that your blackness is celebrated as opposed to judged. And what I mean by that is this. If you were somebody like me who grew up in an area where sometimes you were the speck of pepper in a bowl of salt, if you went into a store and you might have been the only black person in that store at that moment, unconsciously you recognize that in the back of your mind, you're representing your entire race. So if you choose to steal, you contribute to that stereotype that's put out there about black people. Oh, you know, black folks steal. That's how they do. You know what I mean? If you're at a restaurant and you get some really, really crappy service from the server and they're treating you terribly, you recognize that if you're the only black person in that establishment at that time and you choose to tell that server all about themselves and, you know, really just let them have it, you recognize that you're representing the entire race and that there's going to be somebody in that restaurant who is going to use that one individual incident that they witnessed with you and use that to make a blanket statement about all black people. You know, things like that are things that black people as a collective, we always have to fight and face every time we step out of the house. However, when you're at an HBCU, and one of my college professors said this so perfectly because he was telling us one time, you know, he got so many offers to work at Ivy League colleges and other colleges around the country, but he said, I would never give this up because he said, for that Tuesday and Thursday that I come to teach my class, I get to be me. I'm not the black professor, I am the professor. I'm not the black professor. Oh, he's intelligent. He can actually articulate his words. Okay, yeah, he's one of the good ones. Nobody's looking at him as one of the good ones. People look at him as he is the professor. He's a great professor. One of the things that happens with us as a collective is that sometimes, you know, even when people mean no harm, they can't see past our blackness, and they see our blackness from a negative standpoint. And so HBCUs being in that environment, it seamless that ideology, and it makes you also make sure that you're not ashamed of ever being yourself. It makes you not feel ashamed for having natural hair or having a certain dialect or looking a certain way or just doing things differently, or even with the cuisine that you eat. You learn that there is not any, you know, there's nothing wrong with anything that represents who you are. And that you shouldn't have to always go and code switch just to keep other people comfortable. You need to unapologetically be yourself and recognize that really, in reality, in order for the world to become the world that it aspires to be, everybody has to be accepted for who they are when it comes to what they represent and where they're from, as long as it's something that isn't causing harm to anybody or isn't causing harm to society. And you get that out of an HBCU. Coming out of Howard, the thing that I love, every day that I was on that campus, I felt that I could just be me. You know, I didn't feel that I had to, you know, talk a little bit. You know, one of the things I've always done growing up, especially in Spanaway, when I used to get around white people, one of the things I used to always do is I would try to be as pleasant as possible. And I didn't even realize I was doing it. I would always try to be like super, super pleasant just because I didn't want them to think I was aggressive. I didn't want them to be uncomfortable. And it comes with that whole idea of code switching. You learn to, hello, how are you? You know, like I used to really be one of those people that would do that. And I used to be really cautious of certain things. Even like if I was driving, and I don't know, I stopped at Target or something. If I had the windows down with the music playing, if I saw too many white people around, I would turn my music down. And I might change the playlist to something a little bit softer, and just small, simple things. And you don't even realize you're doing it, but that was where I was at the time. Because where I grew up, those images were always portrayed to me as bad images. That's what thugs do. That's, you're dangerous. And so Howard Seen ripped all that and was like, F that, be yourself and be intelligent. And if anybody comes after you, make sure that you have the facts and the know-how and everything else that you need to back yourself up and make people apologize to you rather than you apologizing for being yourself. Because I feel like as a collective in this country, black people, sometimes we're forced to apologize for just existing. We're forced to apologize when our hair isn't the way people want it to look. We're forced to apologize, if we use too much of the wrong lingo. People get uncomfortable if too many of us are sitting together. I will always remember in high school, Black History Month, we had this really, really great Black History program that aired on the announcements and everything was super, super cool. And then they had one of the teachers just give some last-minute commentary at the very end of the presentation, and it just killed the thing. And she said, one of the things I noticed is after all of the hard work that, their parents and grandparents' generation did for them to have freedom, strike one. That's why I was like, okay, lady, watch where you going. She goes, they still segregate themselves. And she was talking about, the lunch room. And how I looked at that was like, first of all, people associate with each other based on their cultural relationships. They associate based on what they recognize and what's comfortable to them. Now, the high school I went to was actually pretty diverse. It was still like a majority white high school, but we had a really huge Southeast Asian population, a really huge Pacific Islander population, a pretty good sized Latino population, had a decent sized black population, had a huge white population, had Native American population. And every group separated themselves during lunch. Everybody got along, but at lunch people sat with who they could, align with about everything. And I just found it so interesting that of all the groups that she could have talked about, she pointed black students out for sitting together at the cafeteria. And I'm like, I don't think people recognize that when you have 6 or 7 classes and in all of your classes you're the only one, you can't wait to get to lunch to see your people, to see your folks so y'all can laugh and crank it up and just chop it up about a bunch of different things. It's not a thing about we don't want to be around other groups of people. It's I want to get around what I recognize. I want to get by some people who are going to say, hey, did you hear this new group called Crime Mob? They got this song called Knuck If You Buck. It is the craziest thing I've ever. Have y'all heard that? Yo, did you see the episode of Making the Band where Diddy made them walk for the cheesecake? I can't always have that conversation with some of the other people I was in school with. So I'm going way off track here, but literally Howard helps you to just be happy to be in the skin that you're in. And then the other thing is you learn so much discipline. I had to learn so much discipline, especially my junior year, because I told you I screwed up my freshman year. Sophomore year was cool, but junior year, I had such a heavy workload. And senior year was even, goodness, wait till we get to that senior year episode. But I had to learn discipline and learning to balance things. And another thing about this whole element of blackness within an HBCU, the expectations are set so high for you. Don't think just because you're at an HBCU, it's like, okay, well, we all black, don't worry, you ain't got to work too hard. Let's go on and crank the music. Because what I'm seeing on social media now is everybody keeps posting clips of everybody swag surfing. And it's like, oh, that's why I want to go to an HBCU. If you want to go to an HBCU just because you want to swag surf, don't worry about going. You need to go to one so you can understand what you're really going to get out of it. The swag surfing, that's just the icing on the cake. That's not what we were doing on campus all day because we was in our rooms crying, stressed out about exams like everybody else. But anyway, so get into junior year. One of the things that I say was one of the most pivotal moments in my life that I was so excited about, and I still light up every time I think about it. Now, y'all know, if you follow me, I have a handful of favorite celebrities that I've just always loved. I've always really, really loved Michael Jackson. I've always really, really enjoyed Prince. I loved me Whitney Houston. I love me some Whitney Houston. I really, really like Janet Jackson. I like Toni Braxton. Who else? Gladys Knight. Gladys Knight is one of my favorite everythings. But Janet Jackson, going back to her, y'all know she was one of my favorites. And in the beginning of the last episode, I told you guys I was excited because I had some tickets to finally see her. I had never seen her live before. It's 2008, and she's on her Rock With You tour. Now, here's the thing. Unfortunately, in her case, she wasn't as popular as she was years before. So at the time, the tour wasn't doing that great. And then she also got sick. So a lot of shows were getting canceled, and there were delays and postponements and everything. And it's the week of my show, and she just canceled the show that was 2 days before mine. My blood pressure was so high, I'm like, oh God, I'm not even gonna get to see her. Why are you sick? Because I don't know what was going on, but all I know is she was good by the time she got to DC. I remember that day like it was nothing. We had in the School of Communications with that orientation class. Was it orientation? It was either, I think it was no, it wasn't orientation class, but in the School of C, on occasion you would have these big meetings with your class where they would give you information about what you needed to do to understand, how you could graduate on time and whatever opportunities there were about internships, this, that, and the third. We had one of those meetings, and it was one that wasn't going to end until like 7 o'clock. And Janet's show started at 8. So I'm sitting in this meeting, and they're giving me all this great information that I really should have taken to heart. But in my mind, I'm like, okay, wrap it up, man. I'm trying to see Janet. Listen, the way that meeting ended, I booked it out of there. I got straight on the train. God, I was so excited. I remember just walking, and like, I don't know how to explain it. I was just so hyped. I was hyped because I bought my tickets, I think, that spring, and her show wasn't until October. And so I remember I got in there, and at first I was nervous because we didn't know if she was going to show up or not because she had been sick. And so I'm in the Verizon Center. It's now the Capital One Arena, but at the time it was the Verizon Center. And so I'm in there, and I had the 6th row. Like I always get the 6th row because when I saw her at the State of the World tour, I had the 6th row too. But I was at the 6th row, and she had 2 stages. It was like the backstage, and then she had like this catwalk thing, and then the stage in front of that. So I was in front of the little catwalk stage, and man, I remember I was standing there, and none of my friends wanted to go because of course this is. The friends who wanted to go didn't want to pay the money that I was willing to pay for the seats that I had. So the friends who did go, they were all in the nosebleeds, bumping their head on the roof. I was like, yo, when you go to a visual show like a Janet or a Chris Brown or a Beyonce or even Lady Gaga, some of the acts that do a lot of visual stuff, you need to be in the front so you can just feel everything. You need to feel the lasers hitting your face and the smoke, and when the fire and stuff drops, you need to feel the heat from the flames. Otherwise, you're missing out. And so I end up in the section all by myself. And which was perfect because that means I can act any old kind of way. I don't have to worry about feeling embarrassed. And man, she comes on that stage. Well, actually, first I was nervous because we didn't know she was going to show up. And then I see Jermaine Dupri walking past me with the crutches because this is back when Janet was with Jermaine Dupri, because y'all swear Janet never dated black folks, but she was with Jermaine Dupri. Remember that? And so I see Jermaine Dupri walk past, like right past me. I'm like, oh, okay, she's here. We in this. We are in this, man. And this is before I even had a smartphone, so I had like a real camera with me and my little, I don't remember what kind of cell phone I used to have. It was some bootleg. It was this red phone that slid. I don't remember what it was called. I think it was like a Motorola or something. That concert started. I was in heaven for like 3 hours. That was the longest concert. She did like 40 songs. I mean, I don't think I even got on the train till like 11 o'clock. She low-key did like 2 hours and 50 minutes. And it was one of the best experiences I ever had. I'm not just saying that because I like her, because I've been to a ton of concerts. But that one, when you get to see one of your childhood favorite people right in front of you, you lose your mind. Mind you, she looked at me like 3 times. That's the part when we made eye contact. So I was like, oh, I can die now. I've lived a full life. I'm good. And so, remember back in the day, she used to bring the people on the stage and rape them and do all that crazy stuff. Where she strapped the guy and all that stuff. So it gets to that part of the show. She's walking and she's looking and they're playing all little sexy music and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, what would happen if she picked me? Like, I was just thinking, I was like, do I want to be picked? I do want to be picked, but I don't want to be picked because I don't want 20,000 people to see me, how I would respond. And so she ends up pointing in my role. I'm like, and she kind of points in my direction, and I'm like, and moves her hand to the left, and she picks this dude 6 seats over from me. I was like, oh, okay, cool. But I'm low-key, I'm glad I didn't go up there. I would have embarrassed myself. I would have been such a clown. But I mean, that concert was so much fun. I was on a high. I can't explain it, but if you have a favorite celebrity that you just grew up on since childhood, and when you get just think about how you felt when you finally got to see them. That's how I was. So that was one of my favorite moments of my junior year as well. Like, I was like, I got to see her. And then the cool thing was, because she had postponed and kept rescheduling all her shows, like my show was on the same day it was supposed to be, but there was a New York show. And at that time, she was doing a program with the Thurgood Marshall Scholars, and she was supposed to speak at an event at Howard. Unfortunately, because her tour got all rescheduled and everything, now her New York date and that Howard event kind of clashed. So what she did was she gave complimentary tickets to everybody who was in that program. And literally everybody got a trip to New York. And so one of my co-RAs was in that program, was like, well, hey, I don't want to go to New York because I ain't pressed to see her. So you want to go? Yeah. So I got a ticket. And 2 weeks later, I was in Madison Square Garden watching the same show, and it was just as good as the last time. And and actually, it was the last show of that tour too. Like, it was so good. But going back to what was going on back on campus, at the same time, social media is really blowing up at this point. MySpace is still kind of jumping, but everybody's kind of transitioning into Facebook, and Twitter's out, but people aren't really jumping on Twitter until about 2009. So everybody is doing a social media thing. There's this website that comes out, and it's like a gossip site where people can anonymously put information out about other people, and nobody will know who they are. And it was called Juicy Campus. When I tell you, Juicy Campus had the entire campus shook for a good month, because there was so much drama and gossip and chaos that was just put out there about people. And the worst thing about it was, people could just make up stuff about other people and just put it out there, and then half the campus was looking at it. Like, that was one of the freakiest moments, because I felt bad for so many people, because that thing would put out who was pledging what organization, who slept with what professor to get a grade, who might have been in the closet, it was so many different things that was being put out there. Who was cheating on their girlfriend, who was beating up their girlfriend, who was a drug addict, who failed, and who was lying about their age. Everything you could think of was on there. And I used to pray to God, please, God, don't let me be on this site. Don't let me be on this site. I used to check every day. But the good thing was, I was kind of low-key and unknown on campus. And all of my dirt, most of it was done off campus anyway. So I didn't have much to worry about. So I was never on the site. But that site caused a lot of problems. And that's one of the terrible things I'd say happen with social media, is that social media can always be used for bad. It's great for networking, it's great to get exposure, but there's so many bad elements that can come out of social media. And that was a perfect example. I remember the site ended up getting shut down, fortunately. And then there was some other company that was so pressed, they ended up launching, and they pretty much did the same thing. But that Juicy Campus site, that was, goodness, everybody's business was put out there. And that probably ended some friendships and relationships, and that caused a lot of problems for a lot of people, unfortunately. I felt bad for anybody whose name was on there. Now, listen, I wasn't somebody to do too much gossiping, so you didn't have to worry about me adding nothing, because I wasn't in anybody's business anyway. I was taking care of myself. So what else was going on? Oh, and then there were some other opportunities that came. So one of the things that the dorm always did, the dorm always had pageants. All the dorms had pageants and stuff like that. And so Meridian had theirs. And at this point, I'm no longer coaching my dance teams in Seattle, because there's no way to do it all. I have too much on my plate. I can't go to Seattle every other weekend and coach the teams. And so boss man is like, well, listen, I need you to participate with this pageant, so you need to be the choreographer for the pageant. I was like, choreographer? That has a ring to it. Okay, cool. And so the dorm ended up having this pageant. And I remember I wore that choreographer badge like I was somebody so important. I used to get on everybody's nerves, because the pageant was supposed to be, and I think you had to do it before homecoming, but it was like a team of 5 or 6 of us RAs trying to put everything together. And every time they wanted me to do more than what I was supposed to do, I'm like, nope, excuse me, I'm just a choreographer. I make the dances and I go home. I would say that every 5 minutes. They're like, bro, if you don't, excuse me, I'm the choreographer, I make the dances and I go home. That's all. Thank you. And then, the other RAs were shady, because at this time, I was really starting to recognize that I think I'd be an okay comedian. And I was like, y'all, let me get some stage time during the intermission when the judges are judging. I was like, let me just get some stage. They would not let me get the stage. I was like, F all y'all. And so they let this other guy go and do some comedy. This guy named Jaquin. And actually, he's actually pretty good. His comedy career has really blown up over the past few years. If you're in the DMV, catch his show if you ever get a chance to see him. He's actually really good, really entertaining. Like him, there's another guy, Rallo Boykins, I think I said his last name right. Rallo, Jaquin, it's a few of them, but they're all really good, and it's cool because they came out of Howard, they're right out of Meridian. Great material, they've really been at it, and I'm glad that they're getting the traction that they deserve. So if you're in the DMV and you want some good comedy, you want a good laugh, check them out. I think it's Jaquin Jones. I think I'm wrong. Forgive me if I'm saying his name wrong. It's Jaquin Jones and Rallo Boykins. I think their IG handle is flat out funny, but check them out when you get a chance. So they let that go. So the pageant was kind of cool to choreograph. What else is going on? Oh, listen. So then we go back to the whole thing with Barack Obama. So remember I said how we were all excited because he was elected. It's a new day. And, for the next few months, everybody's in a good mood all year. The RAs, we had to have this meeting. It was a staff meeting. And we were broken up into teams with our staff meeting. So Miss Keeney had a team. One of our other GAs had a team. And there was a third GA that had a team. And so me and 4 or 5 other people were on one team. We had this great meeting. And so after the meeting, we're like, oh, well, where are we going to go? Let's all get some food. It was like a random, it was either a Saturday or a Sunday. we're like, yeah, let's go get some food. And everybody's coming up with some suggestions. And now at the time, I was obsessed with Ben's Chili Bowl. It was close to campus. I used to walk there all the time, eat their food. And really what I think it was, I just liked the environment. The staff was really, really cool. They had a jukebox. You put your little dollar in and get your songs playing. Like the vibe in there was just always super, super, super cool. And the food was cool too. But I really just liked the environment. Some of the things that I was experiencing in DC were things I'd never got to experience growing up in Spanaway. They were just the idea of living in a city and coming out of your, wherever you stay and just walking out on the sidewalk and everything is happening. I never got to experience that. So, I used to love going to these places. So I was like, please, let's go to Ben's Chili Bowl. And Miss Kennedy was like, we're not going to Ben's Chili Bowl. I don't want to go there. Because Kennedy didn't live in D.C. forever, how many years. And I don't want to go there. So we go to Chipotle instead. We go to Chipotle. Everything is good. And actually, that was the same day, I think, was it Eartha Kitt who died? I think it was Eartha Kitt died, because I heard that and then I misheard it and I thought they said Aretha Franklin died, and that messed me all up for a quick minute. I mean, fast forward, now she's gone. But at that time I was like, oh my god, Aretha died? And they're like, no, it was Eartha Kitt. I'm like, oh, I mean, that's still just as terrible, but man. But going back to my point, we get back to the dorm. I go to my room, I lay down, I turn on the TV, I turn on the ABC 7, channel 27, and they're like, a special guest came to Ben's Chili Bowl today, and he took pictures with, Barack Obama went to Ben's Chili Bowl the same day within the same 3-hour span that we were supposed to go there, but Katie didn't want to go because she wanted to go to freaking Chipotle, which my mother used to call Chipotle every time she would fuss when she used to look at my bank statements. She's like, well, you keep spending all this money at Chipotle. What's that about? But, man, I was livid. I was like, y'all didn't have me miss Barack Obama for this mess? Like, what? Oh, I was so mad. I was pissed. And like, it's funny because then when I would go to Ben's Chili Bowl, they'd have this big picture of him in there. I'm like, dang. And I mean, he was in there for a good minute. He took a picture with all of the staff. And mind you, I knew most of the staff in Ben's Chili Bowl on a first name basis. So I know, had I had been there, I would have been able to get a picture with Barack. It's cool though. I got kind of one with Michelle years later, but it wasn't me and her in the picture. It's more so me taking a picture of her from like 2 feet away and her looking at the camera. Like, what you doing? But it counts. Anyway, but let me keep this going. So then there's this moment, and this is like maybe a few weeks after he's been elected, and I'm working the lobby, and it's a random weekend. Working the lobby, it's been like a real quiet day. Not a lot of people coming in and out. A lot of people probably still sleeping in because they didn't party the night before. And the phone rings, and I'm like, hello, Meridian Hill Hall. Yes, I need you to follow these orders. Okay. Yes, I need you to clear everybody out of the lobby. And once you clear everybody out of the lobby, I need you guys to pretty much work security, make sure nobody comes in and nobody comes out until we give you the all clear. And I'm like, huh? Okay. And what it was somebody from Residence Life, like the main office, which was pretty much how we got paid. Residence Life was like the main office that managed the resident assistants from, top down. And so I'm like, oh, okay. So I tell Miss Fennell, Miss Fennell, we just got a call. We need to clear the lobby, this, that, and the third. So, I mean, we clear the lobby. We do all the stuff. We make everybody, if you're in the lobby, you need to go upstairs. You need to go to another room. You need to go somewhere, this, that, and the third. And all of us are like, yo, I think it's Barack Obama coming to the dorm. And because then I get another call and they're like, okay, countdown, estimated time of arrival about 5 minutes. Be on the lookout for a black SUV. I'm like, oh my god, yo, Secret Service do everything in black SUVs. Yeah. Y'all know it's about to be Barack. It's about to be Barack. He's coming to the dorm. He about to come kick it with us. And it's on my shift, and I'm the one working, so I'm gonna look like I'm really one of the real good students on the campus. So he's about to, shake my hand, and maybe he'll give me a job when I get out. It's gonna be a good day. So we clear the lobby. Then they call again. They're like, you also have to get out the lobby. What? Wait, I gotta get out the lobby too? And so I leave the lobby, but I go to this room called the reading room, which is like next door, because the reading room had these 2 big doors with, the glass panels in it, so you could still see everything. So me and Miss Fennell and like 3, it was like maybe 2 student volunteers, because we also had student volunteers who would work the desk and stuff for, work for housing or student work. I forgot the name of what it was called. And just volunteer work and stuff like that. So we're in the reading room looking through this door, and we just know that, it's about to be Barack Obama coming in there. And so you see this guy come in with a suit, and he kind of looks, because at this point we're watching through the door. The only person who's in the lobby at this point is the campus police officer, who is, you can't kick the campus police out. He's the regulation for making sure everything is safe. So we're looking through the little crack on the door, through the glass, because of course the glass is covered with some paper, because boss man always made us decorate everything. So we're looking through this little crack in the paper. We see the man come in, and he's giving like the all clear. It's like this guy in a suit. And so he's giving the all clear. And then the door opens. And so it's like, we were so silent. Like, it was so silent in that lobby. We were like listening because we just knew. We're like, oh my God, the president's about to walk. Or, the future president's about to walk. And it's just going to be so dope. I can't believe I'm about to experience this. And I'm like, hell, I just saw Jen like a month ago. Now this is going to be so good. And so the door opens. And we look. It's Boss Man. Boss Man went to the cruise that the Residence Life office had, and then got too drunk, and now he's been blacked out or some crap like that. And it's all of the people carrying him upstairs. I mean, he is sick. He done threw up and everything. I'm like, what? And so what it was, of course, they done carried Boss Man to the elevator, carried him to his room, because of course Boss Man, he had an apartment in the dorm as well. And so we're like, what? Yo, all of us were pissed off. And then, of course, we got the clown. Like, y'all done hyped all this up, talking about clear the lobby and all this stuff. We're thinking it's about to be some important people. It's Boss Man. What? Oh, we were so mad. But the thing that made that day even funnier, and now that I remember, it wasn't November. It had to be December, because this was around the same time that we had the staff Christmas party that was supposed to happen. And so he ended up, it must have been like the Residence Life Christmas cruise that he got messed up on. And so that same day, we were supposed to be having our own resident assistant Christmas party before everybody would branch off and, go home for Christmas or wherever else they would go. And so now there was another GA who also worked with us named Lauren, and Lauren was cool. She was all right. And Lauren and I were tasked with putting together the resident assistant holiday Christmas party. Like, I didn't want to do it, but they just drew names out of a hat, and I was selected. I said, yay, can't wait, so excited. I'm not really the big party planner kind of guy. And so the issue was, Boss Man had all of the equipment that we needed, because he said, you guys, if you want to, because people were like, oh, we want to make cupcakes, and we want to make this, and we want to make that. And so, remember, we're in a dorm. Most of us don't have a lot of cooking stuff. And most of us really don't cook. I mean, I didn't have any cooking supplies or anything like that. And so he had everything. And so he had went to the store to get, frosting and everything, and he had told us that he would meet with us after the cruise to go and get all this stuff out of his apartment, and we could go and use the kitchen and bake and cook whatever we need, and call the ones who are going to be doing all the cooking and stuff to get the food ready. But now there's a problem, because Boss Man has just been carried to his room and is one step from unconscious, and what do we do? And we were also told, do not bother him by the gentleman who came in with the black suits, because this was like it was some damage control kind of thing where, okay, let's not make the university look bad. So it was kind of like nobody going there, nobody bother him, this, that, and the third. We're like, okay. And so now me and Lauren are like, well, how do we get all the stuff? He got everything in the room. Because we were like, we could just cancel the party, but then Lauren and some of the other people in charge were so by the book. They're like, no, we can't cancel it because he said we got to do it. I'm like, fine, whatever. So Lauren was like, why don't we just go get the master key and go in his apartment and get all the stuff we need and just leave? And I'm thinking like, wait, why he's still in there? Like, you mean why he in there, like in his apartment? How do we know he's not going to be sitting there watching TV when we open the door? And she's like, will you come on? Because listen, this is the time when I'm still kind of the scaredy cat on the staff. I was the one who took the job super serious. I worked all of my shifts on time. I would go the extra mile. If you needed me to work an extra hour, I didn't mind if it didn't interfere with me being late to class or something like that. I was the one who was super trying to, just really not get fired, because I really was still thinking that people would get fired. And at this point, somebody had already been fired for real. So I was like, okay, he's not playing. Now, some of the other RAs used to be like, man, we good. Like Tana Mae was one of them people. She was like, look, we good. You doing too much. It's not that serious. But me, I'm like, oh no, because when I sign on to do a job, I must do it correctly. So I was a scaredy, I was a scaredy cat. And she was like, boy, if you don't come on. So we go, and we get the master key, and we go to the second floor where his apartment was. And mind you, I'm the one on the lookout. I'm making sure nobody sees us going into the apartment. I'm looking to make sure there's nobody in the hallways. Okay, let's go. And you know how in the horror movies, when they're in an environment or they're in a situation where their life is in danger and they must be completely silent. Like, think about the movies where it's like the white girl hiding behind, I don't know, the bookshelf, and the psycho killer's in there with the big giant knife. And all she gotta do is sit there and be quiet, but she can't even breathe quietly. I'm like, yo, shut up before he hit. Like, that's what it felt like to me. So we made every possible noise you could make while we were trying to be quiet. First of all, we couldn't even get the key to get the door open properly. Like, for some reason, the key was not trying to open the way we needed it to go. So the doors just... And I'm like, yo, Lauren, open the door. Because she was the one doing it. I'm the one on the lookout. Open the door, Lauren. I'm trying. It's not twisting. Well, you need to twist it another way. Come on, I'm about to go back downstairs. Like, and so we finally get the door open. And then just like in every horror movie, that door, I'm like, shit. God. So we open the door. And when you walk in, you have to go through the living room. To the left is the bedroom. Mind you, his door is open. We can see him laying on the bed, like knocked out. I'm like, oh God, this is like some stuff on Friday when they had to break into whatchamacallit's house and try to get the money out of his pocket, out of Debo's house when they try to get the money out the pocket and climb through the window. That's what it felt like. And so you can see Boss Man laying in the bed to the left in his bedroom. And so when you walk in, there's a living room, to the left is his bedroom, to the right is the dining room, and then you turn and then there's the kitchen. And so we're walking and we're trying to walk in. I'm breathing just like the white girl in the horror movie, trying to not be loud. I'm like, okay, I'm good. And then I finally get my stuff together. I'm good. I'm calm. I'm quiet. And Lauren's like, okay, what do we get first? I'm like, Boss Man said that we needed to get out like some cupcake pans, another baking pan, and some other things like that. And so we're like, well, what cabinet is the pans in? Because we ain't been in there before. And so we go and we open these cabinets. We're looking through all the cabinets trying to find the pans. Finally, we find the cabinets with the pans. All the pans that we need are under all the pots and pans. He must have not been making too many muffins and cupcakes or something. But like, the muffin or cupcake pan is at the very bottom, sitting under like another pan and everything. And I'm like, okay, so this is what we can do. We can try to take everything out quietly and sit it down and then get the pan and be good. And mind you, in my head, I'm thinking like, we ain't got this much time. This is like the horror movies where you got like a minute and 30 seconds to be in and be out. And we already done been in here for 20 seconds too long. Let's wrap this up. And so we start trying to get the pans out. I don't know who did. I think it was her. It couldn't have been me because I was too scared. She pulled something and all the pans. I'm like, oh my God. Like if you wanted a live go-go concert, it happened right there when them pans fell. I was like, damn. And so get the pans. My heart is jumping. I'm looking because I just know Boss Man's about to jump up and cuss us out. He doesn't get up yet. I'm like, thank you, God. Okay. And so we get the pans, we get all the pans we need. And she's like, oh, I think we need to get the spatula. Oh, okay. All right, Michael, go get the spatula. Okay, I'm getting the spatula. And so I'm putting all the stuff inside this big bag, and I keep thinking we're good. We can go. Every time I'm trying to make a beeline back up out of that apartment, she, oh, no, we got to get. I'm like, how much more stuff we got to get? And she's like, oh, we got to get the frosting. I'm like, what frosting? We can get frosting from the grocery store across the street. No, he already said he bought some. Okay, let's get the frosting. We go and we get the frosting. Now we got to open the refrigerator. Open the refrigerator, what happened? I don't know what fell. It was like some ice cubes or something fell, and those fall on the floor. I'm like, damn, okay. And so I'm picking up whatever the ice cubes are, putting them in the sink quietly and everything like that. We get the frosting, we get everything. And now I'm like, can we just get out? But we gotta still put the pots back in the cabinet. So we can put the pots back in the cabinet. My heart is pounding this whole time because it's so silent in the apartment. Like it's dead silent. I can't even hear homeboy in the other room breathing. I'm like, is he dead in there? Because I don't know. And so, man, we get everything. We finally make it out the apartment. And then we can't lock the door back. We couldn't lock the door. We kept trying to lock the door with the key, and it just would, something about the door and the hinge just didn't get along. And so I was like, F it, let's just go. So we're going downstairs, and eventually we have this party that nobody shows up to. It was like 4 RAs that showed up. I was like, we went through all that for nothing. All that stress for nothing. Like I tell you, there were so many memories. Another funny memory is, I always laugh about this Red Lobster trip. One of the things that was always funny was that I always did all of my dirt as far as any association with hormones and everything like that. I was really low-key about it. Like I was very to myself. So whenever me and girlfriend from UMD were like doing anything, it was always at her place. I didn't do it in mine, mainly because one, the walls in Meridian are super thin. You hear everything. And I didn't want that kind of attention, mainly because I was a resident assistant. Everybody in the building knew who I was. I didn't have time for my business to be on Juicy Campus. Like, yo, there's this RA, he'd be in there just, yo, he out of control. I didn't want that kind of attention. And so, every time I would go visit her, I used to always kind of be like in and out, and I'd be real low-key and just try to do a beeline straight out the door. Because one of the other things is, all of the RAs, we kicked it so much. If we saw another RA leaving, like, oh, where you going? Oh, I'm just going to the store real quick. Oh, I'm coming too. Wait for me. That would always happen. So I didn't always want that going down. But one time, I was catching up with one of my old friends. If you remember the first episode of my Howard podcast, I talked about one of the girls I met who had me on that ride that just took you straight up and dropped you straight down. And so she and I were going to meet at Red Lobster. And so Tana Mae is in the lobby, and Rochelle is in the lobby. So I come out of the elevator, and to my left is Tana Mae and Rochelle. They were at the desk, and like, where are you going? Where are you going? I'm like, oh, I'm just about to go out real quick. And now mind you, I wasn't going to do anything crazy. I wasn't even going to meet with my girlfriend. I was meeting with my other friend from the freshman episode, and so she and I were gonna go to Red Lobster, just catch up. Because, the thing about college, sometimes you get so busy, it's hard to keep up with some of your older friends, so you have to make time to, hang out and stuff. And so I was like, I'm just going to Silver Spring real quick, I'll be back. And so I don't know if they were thinking like, wait a minute, he's up to something. Because first of all, his girlfriend lives in College Park. She doesn't live in no Silver Spring. I don't know what their thought process was. But Tana Mae realized that Silver Spring means Red Lobster. So she was like, bring me some biscuits back. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And so, I meet up with a friend, and she and I, we get on the train, we go to Red Lobster, we're chilling. Now, I have some friends who work at Red Lobster. There was this guy, DJ, who worked there, and there was this girl, Simidar, who worked there. And, I'm chilling and everything, and so me and my friend were over here laughing, just having us a good time. And out of nowhere, she goes, hey, I see your friend. And so I'm thinking she's talking about, maybe DJ, or she's talking about Simidar, the ones that work there. And I was like, oh, DJ, yeah, he's one of my classes, he works here too. Yeah, there's a lot of Howard folks that work here. She's like, no, the one, the girl. I'm like, what girl? And then I was like, I hope it ain't a whole girl from UMD. She's gonna think I'm up to something. And they're like, no, the one from the dorm. I said, huh? I look to my right. It's Tana Mae. It's Rochelle. They're walking into the Red Lobster, and we make eye contact through the glass. And I look at Tana Mae, and she's kind of smiling like she's up to something, but really, it looks like she just wants to go eat. Like, she's not even thinking about me. But then Rochelle is looking at me smiling so hard, and I'm like, fuck, they're about to come in here and mess. They about to act. And so I'm in my seat just falling apart because Tana Mae already knew I kind of used to have a thing for the girl from freshman year that I was there with. But mind you, it wasn't even anything like that. At this point, me and my girlfriend were kind of on good terms again. We were kind of talking again. We were in this weird situationship that is the most complicated thing to ever explain in life. But at this point, me and my girlfriend are kind of where we're at again. So I'm just in my seat falling apart, like trying to not laugh. And the girl's like, are you good? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And so I'm like, God, please don't let them sit them by us. And right to my right is an entire empty booth. And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to end up sitting right next to me. This is going to be the most awkward thing. And they get in there, and the host, and mind you, I'm watching this. The poor girl that's talking to me, she's talking to me, but I'm looking right past her at where the host is, because I'm like, God, please don't let them come over here, because they're gonna embarrass me. They're gonna make a fool out of me. And so the server brings them right past. My heart just do, and they're getting closer and closer. And I keep looking at that bench, and Rochelle's looking at that booth that's empty, and she's smiling so hard. I'm like, oh God, why? And my friend is like, do you just want to leave? I'm like, no, we don't gotta leave. We're good. Thank God. Tana Mae was like, I'm not even gonna bother this boy. No, we want to sit further back there. Because the server was like, do you guys want to sit right here? So they're like, no, we want to sit further back by the fish tanks or something. Oh, thank you, God. Well, not the fish tanks, because the fish tanks are always in front. I don't know where they want to sit by, but it wasn't by us. I said, thank you, God. Oh, the way I cussed out Tana Mae when we got back to the dorm. And she was like, look, I just wanted some biscuits. You said you were going to Silver Spring. I had a taste for biscuits. Now, she was like, now, I can't speak for what Rochelle was going there for. But I was like, man, y'all are so embarrassing. Y'all get on my nerves. That crowd was so hilarious. This is a hot mess. What else is going on? The inauguration happened. I actually did not go to the inauguration. It was just my luck that I had to work the desk. Of all the times to want to be a great staff member, that was the day that I chose to continue being one instead of saying F that and going to the inauguration. So I missed the inauguration, but I did watch it on TV. I still went to all of the celebrations and the pre-concerts and everything like that, but during the actual time of the inauguration, I had to work. But honestly, that day, DC, I feel like it was 1 degree outside, so I was good. It was cold. I mean, I went to the 2012 one, but it was so cold. I just remember it being cold, and we were trying to watch it on the TV in the lobby, those of us who didn't go. And mind you, it was crazy. The city was crazy that week anyway, because there were so many people who came to town. I think there was like 1.8 million people at the inauguration. Now, DC only has a population of about 600,000, or it's closer to 700,000 now, but at the time it was 600,000. So, there's 3 times the amount of people who live in the city, currently in the city for that event. So, I mean, it was packed out anyway. It was, man, but I remember the night before, we had so much fun. We stayed up that whole night. It was like 8 or 9 of us in my room. I mean, we had the music blasting, and we were just in there partying and playing Taboo, and just, it was just a good day. And I was like, y'all, I gotta go to bed because I gotta work. They're like, boy, you ain't, F all that. It's a new day up in here. It's a new day. I'm like, okay, new day indeed. But inauguration, that environment, it was a really, really cool thing. And a lot of people's parents had flew in and came, you know, for the event as well. So that was a great day. Now, there was another situation that takes place that it's not so happy. At this point, my situationship is a hot mess. We've gone back and forth since sophomore year. And to be honest, I think it's all my fault we're not together. I will take all of the blame. I think I was a horrible boyfriend solely because I got a plate full of so many great things and didn't know how to process, how to manage it all and balance things out. One, what separated my freshman and sophomore year from my junior year is that I had a whole new group of friends. I still had my same friends from, you know, freshman year and sophomore year, but now I have a new clique that I'm really, really tight with and really, really close to. And I spent so much of my time hanging with them. And then on top of that, I'm in a new school as opposed to Howard's College of Arts and Sciences. I'm in Howard School of Communications. And so I'm really taking my academics super serious at that moment, trying to not mess up anything. And then on top of that, I still have my work schedule with being resident assistant and everything like that. And what was going on was, from what I remember, she had a lot going on as well. She, you know, she was in like some kind of business program or something like that. I mean, her schedule was, but we ended up having this big fight. Long story short, she didn't live on campus. She actually just lived in the College Park area. So every time I would go visit her, I would have to get on the train. I'd take the yellow line or the green line all the way to College Park. Then I'd have to take a bus to her apartment where her and her roommate lived. And so we had this plan to kind of hang out that day. And for some reason, she waited till I got there to tell me that she had somewhere to go. And that just set me off. Like, why would you have me come all the way out here? And mind you, we're thinking like 20-year-olds. So we're not really not together. I think she did it on purpose because she was sick of my shit at the same time. And so I'm pissed. Like, why would you have me come all the way out here just for you to have to go somewhere? You realize I done spent, what, $4 getting on this train? And so we get into this argument and everything like that. And so I go back home. I'm like, whatever, man, F all that. I was pissed. I was like, you didn't have me, because I don't know, for some reason I was pissed. And we were starting to see each other less the second time we tried to make it work, because our schedules just didn't let us be in the same space very often. Like, dating somebody from another university, especially when the university is not even that close to where you're at, you know, because she's all the way in Maryland, I'm in DC. It's hard to make things work if your priorities are not really together. And I'm already in happy land anyway, because life is just great. College is finally fun, and I'm living my best life. She's living hers, and over time we just have less and less time for each other. So that day, it wasn't that day, it was like the next day or something. All I know is I wake up to this long text message, and it's like, listen, I appreciate what we had, and you're cool and all, and you're a funny guy, and, you know, everything like that, but I don't want to be in this relationship. It's not going anywhere. You have your things going, I have mine. And then another thing, she was like, I feel like you're dating other people because you never bring me to your dorm. You always come in, it's almost like I got to make an appointment to see you, and you always want to come to me. It comes off real suspect and everything like that. And I don't think it's worth my energy. And I think we should just leave things the way they are. You know, we can still be cool, but I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. And me, it was like a car just boom. I was like, what? I'm being dumped? Am I being dumped? Because I've never really been dumped before. Is this a dumping? What? Are you? And I was like, you couldn't even call them, tell me that? You sent that in a text message? I'm like, why didn't you just tell me that when I went over there yesterday? And everything. I was like, okay. So like the first week, I'm just pissed, man. F her, F that. I done went on Facebook, deleted anything that was, you know, we're so petty when we're 20. You delete everything off social media. I'm deleting, click delete this, untag. Take everything off Facebook. I'm in class all distracted. I can't even concentrate good. Like, I'm all stressed out, head hurting, just can't even fathom the idea. Like, how dare? Like, just what? And it's so funny because breakups are always interesting. Like, if it's a bad breakup, first of all, you're relieved that the mess is over. I didn't really get that stage because I didn't think we were on bad terms, so I wasn't relieved that it was over. But when it is, you know, a bad one, you're relieved that it's over, and then you get mad, and then your feelings just turn on you and you end up depressed. So I skipped the relieved phase. I went straight to pissed off phase. Like, what the hell? And so I was pissed off for like a week. And then my feelings just, I started getting real just, God, what, why? Why are things the way that they are? And so my playlist on my iPod started changing. It started changing from all the lit songs. So I started playing all these depressing songs. Anything that was sad, I was playing. And I tons and tons of Anthony Hamilton, Please Stay got so much play. So much play. And the worst thing was, like, I don't think she blocked my number, because the cell phones, you couldn't really block phones yet. That was back when you had to actually call the provider to block phones, but she was not answering calls. You know, if she did respond to a text, it would be a one-word response, or she would respond like 2 days later. I'm just like, damn. And so I'm just all in my feelings. I'm playing all these little sad, sappy songs. I'm in my room, just sad. But fortunately, at that time, there was something that had a lot of my attention that started around that October. And at this point, it's like February. So I've told you guys before about ResFest. I did ResFest freshman year for Drew Hall. We got 3rd place. I did ResFest sophomore year. We got booed. And then they turned the lights off on us, and I walked home in shame. Junior year, I was not trying to do anything associated with ResFest. I'm like, you know what, I'm just done with it, because I was already annoyed, because I was like, Howard University students don't appreciate good choreography. They only want to see you do some stuff that they can do in the club. They only want to hear the ratchet songs and want to see, you know, because I came out of an era of, well, not an era, I'm just talking like I'm 50. Based on my trainings and what I did with my teams, and when I was on the groups that I was in, we did actual intricate choreography. So I was like, I'm not wasting my energy even getting my hopes up with this. I don't want anything to do with it. So I had already made up in my mind, the minute that they turn those lights off on the sophomore year, I would never do ResFest again. That was it. I'm done with this bull. Unfortunately, I was a resident assistant, and now I had to be in charge of a ResFest event. And automatically, boss man was like, yep, you already know the cure over dance, right? I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I was like, you know what, that's fine. I can be over it, but I'm not performing. I'm not gonna perform. So, okay, cool. So we do these auditions, and I'm already pissed. I really don't want to do ResFest. I don't want to do it. And it's not the same either, because at this point, all my friends that I did it with the years before, they've all moved to the towers. They're older. Like, these are all freshmen that I'm working with, and maybe a sophomore or two. I'm a junior, so it's a totally different group of people. There were 2 members that came back from the year before that still stayed in the dorm that joined, which I was really grateful for, because they're really, really cool people. Still friends with them today. And so I just didn't want to do it. So I remember when it was time to do the auditions to get people on the team, I made the hardest choreography I could think of, all on purpose, just to really just weave out who didn't need to be on the team. Because I'm like, I'm not putting up with this crap this year. It's gonna be a new day around here. And so we do the auditions and everything. You know, we select a team. It's like a team of like 13 people, I think. And the team's pretty cool. It's like 3 guys and was it 10 girls? Something like that. Pretty cool group. But I'm so removed from this. Plus, I got old girl in the back of my mind. But what I ended up doing was, I started to notice that as I was putting together ResFest, the stress and the heartbreak from the breakup kind of became a back seat item, because I ended up becoming really invested in ResFest, mainly because the group that I worked with, they were so cool. Like, it was such a fun group to work with. We had so much fun. There was some drama on occasion, but we had so much fun. Lots of laughs. I remember there was some drama in the beginning, though. I remember one time we had an issue with people coming to practice on time. And the thing about it was, because we're a dormitory and we're putting together this dance team. And if you don't know what I'm talking about and you haven't heard the other episodes about ResFest, Howard does this thing called ResFest, which is like an Olympics between all of the dormitories. And so there's a step competition, there's a dance competition, there's a stroll competition, bowling, football, basketball, chess, debate. It's tons and tons of things. And at the time, it was really, really big. But at this point, ResFest is actually starting to be going to decline as well. It's not as big as it was my freshman year or sophomore year. It kept getting smaller and smaller. But anyway, the group was, people weren't coming to practice on time, or they would come super late. And we had to practice between 8 p.m. and 11, because that's when everybody was finally out of class, had dinner. And so there'll be people that kept missing practice. And so I'm like, what the hell? And so I was like, you know what? I don't want to cuss all these kids out, because they ain't even got to be here like this. And the thing is, Meridian was already not a popular dorm for ResFest anyway. It was really between the Quad, Drew, Carver, and the Annex. Meridian was not really one of the people that had a seat at the table. So I was like, let me just write a letter and email to everybody. And so I sent this email. I'm like, okay, everybody, I just need us to try to be here, as a resident assistant and all the things that I have going. It's kind of, it's a slap in the face when, you said practice is going to be at 8 and there's 4 of y'all here. And, we only have so much time. And the other thing is a lot of them are freshmen. They don't understand what ResFest is and how big it is yet. And so I sent this email out. And I really had 2 people in mind that I was thinking about when I wrote it. Then somebody else, totally different, responds to the email thinking it's about them, then cussed me out the email. I'm like, what? Huh? And so, the beginnings, we had some rough beginnings. But once we found our pocket, we had so much fun. I remember we laughed all the time. And I really just worked on I really enjoyed that routine because I ended up making pretty much all of it. One of the teammates also made a part that was really, really cool. That was really instrumental. They made this really great choreography it was to Missy Elliott's Pass That Dutch, and then we ended up changing the song to, it was an E40 song we switched it with. But, it was some dope choreography. But other than that, I made the entire routine there was one other part where some girls made like this little chair routine where they did something with the chair and it was real like sashay sexy kind of thing. They made that, but I pretty much made the whole thing. And as a way to distract myself from being heartbroken over old girl, I put my all into this routine. I would be in my room all night, and this is where I was talking about Kira in the episode. I would drive her crazy working on these routines because it would be 2 a.m. I'm in my room with the music blasting and 5 and 6 and 7. Like, she'd be like, what the fuck? So I'd be in my room working, putting it, and even the music. I even made sure I had a really good ear with the music. One of the cool things, I wish I could play the mix, but I'd have to go and find it. But I played with experimenting, different sounds and everything like that. And at the time, T-Pain's Chopped and Screwed was really big the year before. And I always felt like T-Pain's Chopped and Screwed sound like Janice I Get Lonely. I'm like, these sound so alike. And so I just was playing around with my little mixing equipment. And then I end up making this mix. And I'm like, hey, this sounds good. And so I don't know. I wish I could play it for you guys. I'll have to find it and play it in another episode. And so, this mix just flowed. I remember, and I used songs that weren't always popular. I really stepped outside the box. I remember the routine opened with Tweet. And she had a song called Steer off the It's Me Again album, which is a song most people had probably never heard before. And so I remember that was my favorite part of the routine because what I did was there were 13 of us and I had everybody in different positions on the stage. So there was a big chair that we had, it was supposed to be a couch, but we couldn't do the couch because nobody would have time to move it onto the stage, so we used 2 chairs. And so you had 2 people that were doing choreography with the chairs, you had 4 people doing choreography in the middle floor, 2 people doing choreography in the front of the floor, and then 3 people in the back standing up and 2 people on the sides. And so it was 7 different sets of choreography all going on at the same time, but they flowed into each other. It was so good. It was so good. And I remember we danced to Nerd's Antimatter, we danced to T-Pain, and I think that was Rashid on that song, Backseat Action. We added the little I Get Lonely Chopped and Screwed mix. We used Rihanna's Breaking Dishes. We used Jill Scott's Crown Royal. We used Mims had that song Move If You Wanted, that was in the mix. We used Tony's It Feels Good. We used TLC's Creep. We used it was that E40 song. I can't think of what it was. We just really, that mix, it was so good how it flowed. I wish I could play it for you guys. If I find the link, I'll post it or something. Actually, you know what you can do? The video I think is on YouTube. Just look up ResFest M. or Meridian or something like that. It should be on there somewhere. I think it's still on there. But that routine was so good. We just, as a team, everything came together. And mind you, this was a unique team because a lot of the people on the team were not really dancers or had never danced before. And so there was a learning experience for a lot of people on the team. And we put it in. We put in so much work, and we would have so many practices. Sometimes we would be practicing until 2 in the morning, and I would be tired because I still had to do my resident assistant work. I still had to do my actual school work, and then I still had to do this whole dance thing. And it's so funny because we took ResFest so serious, and it didn't have to be, but we put it in. Now, towards the end, we were sick of each other because we had been around each other too long. I remember the week of ResFest, we did a 12-hour day. It was a Saturday, and we did a 9 to 9. It was 3 fights that day. But I remember when it was time for the actual show. Now, I was stressed out. I was stressed because I just remembered the last 2 times we've done this, it hasn't gone well. And so I had a little bit of OCD, and I might have drove them a little crazy towards the end, because even the night before, there was also battle rounds. You had your main routine that I made, and then you had the battle rounds. And so the battle rounds that's when the team kind of gave their input as well. So I did some parts, they did theirs, but the final piece, we were still learning parts the night before the competition because we just ran out of time. And so I was a little stressed out. I remember that night I couldn't sleep. My heart was just pounding all night. And then if I ever had a really bad moment in my junior year, that was probably the worst moment, because for some reason it was like everything that was going wrong at the time all hit me at once. I got super, super down about the girl from UMD. And mind you, this was like 2 months later. At this point, it's April. And then I was so stressed out about the ResFest thing because I'm like, okay, my grades were still good, but they had slid down just a tiny bit. Some of those A's had turned into A minuses, but Howard doesn't do they don't do minuses and pluses. So I'm a little stressed about, okay, I can't let this fall anymore, because if it goes to a B plus, it's going to go straight to a B. I was stressed out about that. I also was at a point where I didn't know if I still wanted to be in college, which is another conversation, because there was a lot of music stuff I was doing, like I said before, and I was really into doing music, and I really thought that there were going to be some opportunities, and I felt that I was stuck because, one, I'm in a communications program. I'm not in a music program. So I'm like, okay, how's this going to get me into A&R? How's this going to get me into the record labels and stuff like that? And I was like, what if I miss my opportunity because I'm still here? And so I have that going on. I'm depressed about the girl. I'm stressed out because I'm like, God, I don't want to get booed tomorrow. I don't want to get booed tomorrow. They didn't have that part down. So-and-so didn't have this last step down. I know when the music happens, it's going to happen. And what if our music is messed up again? What if the sound is not right? Because the year before, like I said, our music was so low, nobody could hear it except for us, and we were getting booed. I was like, what if that happens again? What if they don't like the mix I made? Because I didn't really use a lot of songs that people use at the club and stuff. I use all these songs that aren't really, the popular ones. And oh my God, what if I could not sleep. I remember I was sweating. My heart was pounding so hard. I'm like, what the heck? Like, I was wide awake. I didn't even go to sleep that night. I didn't feel good for some reason. But it's the day of the show, and I have jitters like nothing. I'm stressed out. Tana Mae was dealing with some stuff on her own, so she was in a bad mood. Like all the RAs, we were in some bad moods that day. And then we had got the guys, we all made sure that we fit the look of whatever was going on with the uniform. So the guys, we all had got mohawks that day, and it was kind of like this neon theme going on. So we had like these cargo shorts on, like these brown cargo shorts, and these black shirts with a bunch of neon colors, and then everybody would put like neon highlights in their hair. So I cut my hair into a mohawk and had some neon colored hair. You won't be seeing the picture, so don't think it's gonna be posted. For those of you who follow me on YouTube, I usually post a picture from the story when I post these, but it won't be posted with this one. And man, so I'm already feeling stupid with this haircut. Even though my mohawk looked good, I kept it for like a whole year afterwards. I told you, I swear I've had every hairstyle known to man. And so anyway, it's the day of the show. I'm stressed, and the other dorms have been performing, and really they're all okay. I'm like, okay, I haven't seen anything that's super, super great yet. But the biggest fear that I have is, how are we going to be received? Because Meridian is not the cool dorm when it comes to ResFest. It's those four that I named. So, it's time for our show, and we're coming onto the stage. And I remember Jay Murphy had the mic. Now, if Jay Murphy actually, I don't know, some of you may know him, but he's kind of becoming a really popular DJ on the West Coast. And I remember he had a song, it was on the Hot 100. I can't think of what it was called. I want to say it was the This Could Be Us song. I might be wrong. But he was the host. He was really, really popular on campus at the time. And he also lived in Meridian, but he also stayed in Drew. And so the thing about ResFest and staying in your sophomore dorm is you were still loyal to where you were for your freshman dorm. That would be the dorm that defined who you were. And so I was like, God. So Jay Murphy makes this joke like, oh, I see we got our outfits from Hot Topic today. And so the whole crowd, I'm like, oh God, they already laughing at us. And so we get out there, everybody's in ready position, and I'm just praying like, God, don't let the music mess up. God, please don't let the music mess up. And the music starts, and it's at the right volume. I said, thank God, the music is loud enough. And we start doing a routine, and at first, it's dead silent for like the first 10 seconds. I'm like, okay, either they're getting ready to boo, or they're about to start liking us. And then the artist is like, okay, cool. There was this girl named Stephanie on the team who could do this stunt where she could run, jump up, and do, what is it called when you jump up and you the heel touch, whatever that crap is called. You jump up and you touch both the tips of your toes with your hands, like a split. And she would do that, and then land in a split with her legs the opposite way. So she would jump up with her legs spread wide open, touch her toes, and then drop with her legs in the opposite position into a split. The minute she did that, the crowd was like, ah! And for like the rest of that performance, the crowd just ate us alive. I was like, thank you, God. Like, they enjoyed it. It was so good. And we started out in second place by the end of the round, like that first round. So we had to go to the battle rounds, which were also my least favorite part. I hated the battles because that's where everything would always go wrong. And so this time, the battles didn't go terribly, but we got disqualified in one of the rounds, or we lost the round because somebody ran. You know, you do your little battle, but somebody ran past the line towards the other team. So that was like, y'all automatically lost that one. And then the other rounds were pretty balanced. It was pretty good. But then there was the last round. We were battling Cook. And I don't remember what happened. I just know the boy that was standing in front of me from the other team did some kind of dance, and he landed in that death drop. You know, if you ever like study gay culture, you see when you see like the ballrooms and stuff like that, you see they have that death drop where they do that thing where they drop back on their knee. He did that crap. I was like, shit, I don't know how to do that. And the crowd just was like, ah! And so we ended up in fourth place. But it was, for some reason, it was a good fourth place. I wasn't even mad about it. I was like, I'll take it as long as we didn't get booed. Like, that was the one time we didn't get booed. Everything was good. I was like, I will take it. But that was my favorite group to work with. They were so much fun. I mean, we used to just, as a team, we would go out to eat and go to IHOP or go to Matchbox, and we just had all kind of inside jokes. We would have movie nights and stuff. Like, we really, really got along. A lot of those people I'm still really close with. That was a great team to work with. They were the most fun that I had. I really enjoyed my sophomore year as well, and freshman year was cool, but that junior year was just a lot of fun because it was interesting because that time I was in a position of authority, because the year before, remember, everybody and their mom was challenging all my ideas. This time it was like everybody actually listened to me, like, okay, he knows what he's talking about. And so, and it wasn't me being a dictator or anything like that. We were very collaborative, but it was just a lot of fun, and the dorm was supportive. It was just a good look. It was a lot of fun. That even with my performances, of all the performances, that includes the ones from when I, did the stuff with the High Steppers or any of the other dance troupes I've been a part of. That will always be one of my favorite performances. And it's funny because it's not even one of the best ones, but there's so many good memories that come out of it. So that was cool. Now, unfortunately, when ResFest ended, I no longer had anything to be distracted by, because I think what I tried to do was I tried to repress how I felt about the relationship ending and putting all the energy into the ResFest. So when ResFest ended and it was back to square one, at this point, it's almost the end of the school year. I'm like, what do I do now? Like, it was like all the emotions that I tried to repress just came back to hit me. So honestly, to be honest, the rest of my junior year, so that May through, well, actually, hell, the year ended in May. May, I was in a dark place. The joy that I once had, that euphoric spirit that I had, it just was gone. I was really hurt, because really, to be honest, that might have been the first real relationship that I took seriously and I really tried to make work. And it's weird because when you get dumped or when a relationship ends, there's no way to control how you feel. No matter how much you try to tell yourself you're okay, you're not. And I remember there would be days I would just go to sleep. I'm like, let me just go to sleep because I'll feel better when I wake up. But then when I would wake up, I still felt the same, if not worse. And so I remember my friend Whitney. Whitney was the other RA I told you about who ended up becoming a really close friend. I remember Whitney would have to come in my room, open my blinds, ask me if I took a shower that day. Like, I'd just be around, I'm good, I'm fine. No, there's no reason. Because I started skipping class too, like an idiot. But don't worry, I wasn't feeling nothing. I was down. I was really, really down. And so I tried to fill that void by just hanging out and spending a lot of time with the other RAs. Like, I spent a lot of time in Tana Mae's room because, one, she had 2 micro fridges in her room and she had all the snacks. I mean, her family kept her stock. She had corn dogs and chips and Hot Pockets and cup of noodle, all the stuff that you eat when you're 20 and your body doesn't fight you for it. I would be in her room all the time eating all this stuff just because it just helped. But man, I was really, really in a down place by the time junior year ended. However, junior year still goes down as the best year of college for me. It was so much fun. There were so many relationships that were built. I really only spent this podcast talking about really the RAs that I became friends with, but I met so many people on campus and through my classes that I became close with. So many people that became lifelong friends as well. And there were just so many great moments that happened. fun. Like, I loved that year. It was just so much fun. Everything was just, like, when you want to talk about it being good, it was good. Oh, it was such a good time. It's so much fun. And I barely even got, I barely told you guys anything that really happened, but I just really enjoyed that time period. One of the good things I think that did come out of me being in my little feelings, because, man, I remember Facebook notes? I wrote all these little sad, depressing Facebook notes. I think they're still up there. I'm going to go delete them now before y'all go and start looking for those who are actually my Facebook friends. But, like, I used to write these Facebook notes. But one of the good things was I got an opportunity to build closer relationships with my family members who were in the DMV, especially my Aunt Queen, who I told you guys about in the first episode. I used to go to her house so much. After Rest Fest ended, I was always at Queen's house. Just because for some reason, because she had such a nurturing spirit, being around her made me feel better. And so in those moments where I felt so down, I would get on that train to Glenmont, go right to her house, because she had a whole bedroom for me at that point, and I would just be in there, and I don't know, it just helped. But anyway, this has been a long episode as well. That's all for this junior year. What I was going to do, I was going to skip straight to senior year, but I think I have to tell you guys about my summer, because I ended up having to do a summer session, mainly because that business law class that I dropped came back to bite me in the behind. And as I was sitting and I recognized, wait a minute, I can graduate on time, but I have to have like perfect grades and no mistakes. And that has to mean that there's a guarantee that I will be able to get into every class that I sign up for. Do I want to take that risk? And the answer was no. So I said, let me do a summer session. And I tell you, the summer, that's a podcast in itself. So we're going to talk about that summer of 2009 before my senior year, and then I'll do a separate episode for senior year. But anyway, that's all for now. Until next time.